Welcome, brave souls, to a tale that will chill you to the bone. Tonight, we delve into the dark and twisted history of the Overlook Hotel, a place where nightmares come to life, and Room 237 holds secrets that should never be uncovered. Prepare yourselves for the haunted hotel room, Room 237, and let the story begin. The Overlook Hotel stands tall and imposing against the backdrop of the Rocky Mountains, its grand facade hiding a multitude of sins and dark secrets. Built in the early 1900s, this luxurious establishment has seen its fair share of tragedy and horror over the years. But it's Room 237 that holds the key to the hotel's most terrifying mysteries. Our story begins in 1921, when the hotel first opened its doors to the wealthy elite seeking a secluded mountain getaway. Among the first guests were newlyweds Thomas and Elizabeth, who chose the Overlook for their honeymoon. Little did they know that their romantic retreat would end in tragedy. On their third night at the hotel, Thomas and Elizabeth checked into Room 237. The following morning, housekeeping found Elizabeth's lifeless body in the bathtub, her wrists slit. Thomas was nowhere to be found. The official report ruled it a murder-suicide, but whispers among the staff suggested something far more sinister had occurred. In the years that followed, Room 237 gained a reputation for being unlucky. Guests reported strange occurrences, unexplained noises, shadowy figures, and an overwhelming sense of dread. The hotel management tried to downplay these incidents, but they couldn't ignore the mounting evidence that something was terribly wrong with that room. In 1947, a wealthy businessman named Richard checked into Room 237 for a week-long stay. The third night he called the front desk in a panic, claiming that he saw a woman's ghost in the bathroom. The staff dismissed his concerns, but the next morning, Richard was found dead in his bed, his face frozen in a mask of terror. The hotel's dark reputation grew, and Room 237 became the subject of local legends and ghost stories. Some claimed that the spirits of past victims were trapped within its walls, while others believed that the room itself was a portal to another dimension. Despite the growing number of incidents, the Overlook Hotel continued to operate, its owners more concerned with profits than the safety of their guests. They went to great lengths to cover up the strange occurrences, bribing local authorities and intimidating witnesses into silence. In 1963, a young maid named Maria had a terrifying encounter while cleaning Room 237. As she was changing the sheets, she felt an icy hand grip her ankle. When she looked down, she saw a pale, disfigured face peering out from under the bed. Maria's screams echoed through the halls, and she refused to ever set foot in that room again. The hotel management tried to dismiss Maria's claims, but other staff members began to come forward with their own stories. Night watchman John reported hearing children's laughter coming from the empty room, while bartender Frank swore he saw blood seeping from under the door one night. As the rumors spread, the Overlook Hotel's reputation took a hit. Bookings declined, and the owners became desperate to salvage their investment. In 1975, they hired a team of paranormal investigators to debunk the claims of supernatural activity in Room 237. The investigation team, led by renowned psychic medium Madame Leota, spent a week in the hotel, focusing their efforts on the infamous room. On the final night of their stay, Madame Leota attempted to conduct a séance in Room 237 to communicate with any spirits that might be present. What happened next would become the stuff of legend. As Madame Leota began her ritual, the room suddenly plunged into darkness. The temperature dropped dramatically, and the investigators reported feeling an oppressive, malevolent presence. Then, to their horror, they witnessed a series of ghostly apparitions, the victims of Room 237 reliving their final moments. The investigators fled the room in terror, their equipment damaged, and their minds scarred by what they had witnessed. Madame Leota, however, remained behind, determined to uncover the truth behind the room's dark energy. When the hotel staff finally managed to break down the door, they found Madame Leota in a catatonic state, her eyes wide and unseeing. She never spoke another word for the rest of her life, spending her remaining years in a psychiatric facility. The Overlook Hotel's owners, now faced with irrefutable evidence of supernatural activity, made the decision to close room 237 permanently. They sealed it off, plastering over the door and removing any mention of it from the hotel's records. But closing the room didn't put an end to the strange occurrences. Guests in neighboring rooms reported hearing screams and sobs coming from behind the sealed wall. Staff members avoided the entire floor, claiming that the negative energy from room 237 had spread throughout the area. In 1980, a young couple, Adam and Sarah, checked into the room directly below 237. On their second night, they were awakened by the sound of running water. Confused, Adam went to investigate and found their bathroom floor flooded with water that seemed to be coming from the ceiling. When they called the front desk to complain, the night manager paled at the mention of the room number. He quickly moved the couple to another part of the hotel, but not before they noticed dark, rust-colored stains spreading across their ceiling. Stains that looked disturbingly like blood. The hotel's dark secret became harder to contain as the years went on. In 1985, a true crime writer named Jack arrived at the Overlook, intent on researching the hotel's history for his next book. Despite the staff's attempts to dissuade him, Jack became obsessed with uncovering the truth about room 237. Late one night, Jack managed to break through the plaster covering the old door to room 237. As he stepped inside, he was overwhelmed by a feeling of dread and the stench of decay. The room appeared frozen in time, exactly as it had been left decades ago. Jack began to explore, his flashlight beam revealing years of dust and neglect. As he approached the bathroom, he heard a splash coming from the tub. Heart pounding, he slowly pushed open the door to find the tub filled with dark, murky water. Suddenly, a pale hand shot out of the water, grabbing Jack's wrist. He screamed and stumbled backward, watching in horror as a decaying figure rose from the tub, the ghost of Elizabeth, the room's first victim. Jack's terrified screams alerted the hotel staff, who rushed to the scene. They found him huddled in a corner, babbling incoherently about ghosts and murder. The room, however, appeared untouched, with no sign of the supernatural encounter Jack claimed to have experienced. The incident with Jack was the final straw for the hotel's management. They decided to take drastic measures to contain the evil that seemed to emanate from room 237. In the dead of night, a team of workers was brought in to completely gut the room, removing every trace of its existence. But as they began to tear down the walls, they made a chilling discovery. Hidden within the structure were dozens of human bones, some dating back to the hotel's earliest days. It seemed that room 237 had been used as a dumping ground for murder victims over the decades, their spirits trapped within its walls. The workers fled in terror, refusing to complete the job. The hotel owners, now facing a full-blown crisis, called in a team of occult experts to cleanse the room and lay the restless spirits to rest. The cleansing ritual lasted for 3 days and nights. Witnesses reported seeing strange lights and hearing unearthly screams coming from the room. When it was finally over, the occult team emerged, looking haggard and haunted. They warned the hotel owners that while they had managed to banish most of the spirits, something dark and ancient remained, something that had been there long before the hotel was built. In a last-ditch effort to contain the evil, the hotel owners decided to seal off the entire wing of the hotel that contained room 237. They spread rumors that it was due to structural issues, but those who knew the truth understood the real reason. Years passed, and the Overlook Hotel slowly regained its reputation as a luxury resort. The stories of Room 237 faded into urban legend, whispered about by the occasional curious guest or new staff member. But in 2010, the hotel's dark past came rushing back when a group of urban explorers broke into the sealed-off wing, determined to uncover the truth about Room 237. Armed with cameras and ghost-hunting equipment, they made their way through the dusty, abandoned corridors. As they approached the location where Room 237 should have been, their equipment began to malfunction. The temperature dropped dramatically, and they felt an oppressive weight in the air. The lead explorer, a young woman named Rachel, stepped forward to touch the wall where the room's door once stood. The moment her fingers made contact, she was assaulted by a series of terrifying visions, flashes of all the horrors that had occurred in that room over the years. She saw murders, suicides, and dark rituals. But more than that, she glimpsed something ancient and malevolent that lurked beneath it all. Rachel's screams snapped her teammates out of their fear-induced paralysis. They grabbed her and ran, not stopping until they were safely outside the hotel grounds. The footage from their cameras was mostly static and distortion, but one clear image remained: a shadowy, inhuman figure standing in the corner of where Room 237 once existed. The urban explorer's experience reignited interest in the Overlook Hotel's dark history. Ghost hunting teams and paranormal researchers flocked to the site, all hoping to catch a glimpse of the infamous Room 237. The hotel owners, seeing an opportunity to capitalize on the renewed interest, made the controversial decision to renovate the sealed-off wing and reopen it to the public. They marketed it as a haunted hotel experience, complete with guided tours and overnight stays for the bravest guests. But as construction crews began work on the abandoned wing, strange accidents and inexplicable events plagued the project. Workers reported tools going missing, unexplained cold spots, and the constant feeling of being watched. Several quit, claiming they had seen ghostly figures or heard disembodied voices warning them to leave. Despite the setbacks, the renovation was completed, and the new haunted wing of the Overlook Hotel opened to great fanfare in 2015. Guests could now book stays in the rooms surrounding the former location of Room 237, which had been converted into a small museum dedicated to the hotel's supernatural history. At first, the attraction was a huge success. Thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts flocked to the Overlook, eager to experience the haunted wing for themselves. Many reported strange occurrences, objects moving on their own, ghostly apparitions, and overwhelming feelings of dread. But as the months passed, the encounters became more intense and frightening. Guests began to check out early, some in tears, others angry and demanding refunds. Staff members assigned to the haunted wing frequently called in sick or quit without notice. The breaking point came when a family of 4 checked into one of the rooms near the former Room 237. On their second night, the parents awoke to find their children missing. A frantic search of the hotel ensued, but the children were nowhere to be found. Just as the police were about to be called, the kids reappeared, walking out of the museum area that had once been Room 237. They seemed dazed and confused, with no memory of how they had gotten there. But their parents noticed a change in them, a darkness in their eyes that hadn't been there before. In the wake of this incident, the hotel was forced to close the haunted wing once again. But the damage had been done. Whatever malevolent force resided in Room 237 had been awakened and strengthened by the attention it had received. Strange occurrences began to spread throughout the entire hotel. Guests in all areas reported nightmares and sleep paralysis. Staff members spoke of shadowy figures lurking in corridors and the constant feeling of being watched. The Overlook Hotel's reputation once again plummeted, and bookings dropped to an all-time low. The owners, desperate to save their investment, brought in a renowned exorcist as a last resort. Father Michael, known for his success in cleansing haunted locations, arrived at the Overlook with a sense of trepidation. He could feel the evil emanating from the building before he even stepped inside. For 3 days and nights, Father Michael battled the dark forces that had taken hold of the hotel. Guests and staff reported hearing unearthly screams and seeing flashes of light coming from the sealed-off wing. The entire building seemed to shake with the force of the spiritual warfare taking place within its walls. On the dawn of the 4th day, Father Michael emerged from the hotel, looking haggard and aged beyond his years. He informed the owners that he had managed to cleanse most of the building, but the evil in room 237 was too powerful and ancient to be completely banished. His recommendation was clear: the entire hotel needed to be demolished. The land itself was tainted, he warned, and as long as the building stood, it would continue to act as a beacon for dark forces. The hotel owners, faced with financial ruin and the weight of countless tragedies, finally agreed. The Overlook Hotel was closed permanently, and plans were made for its demolition. As news of the hotel's impending destruction spread, it attracted one last surge of paranormal enthusiasts and thrill-seekers, all desperate for a final chance to experience the infamous Room 237. Despite increased security, several managed to break into the abandoned building. Of those who entered, not all came out. The few who did spoke of encountering a darkness beyond anything they could have imagined, a malevolent presence that seemed to have grown stronger as it faced its final days. On the day of the demolition, a crowd gathered to watch the end of the Overlook Hotel. As the explosives were detonated and the building began to collapse, witnesses swore they could hear an inhuman howl of rage emanating from the structure. As the dust settled, many hoped that the evil of Room 237 had finally been put to rest, but some, including Father Michael, warned that the dark force had merely been released from its confines. They feared that it would now be free to spread beyond the boundaries of the hotel, seeking new vessels for its malevolent energy. In the years that followed, the site of the Overlook Hotel remained abandoned, with nature slowly reclaiming the land. But hikers and curious locals who ventured too close often reported feelings of dread and the sensation of being watched. Some claimed to see ghostly apparitions wandering the empty grounds, while others spoke of hearing whispers on the wind, the voices of all those who had fallen victim to the horrors of Room 237. And so, the legend of the Overlook Hotel and its haunted Room 237 lives on, a cautionary tale of the dangers that lurk in the shadows of history and the depths of human darkness. For those who seek out its mysteries, beware. Some secrets are better left buried, and some doors should never be opened. And there you have it, dear listeners, the chilling tale of Room 237 and the Overlook Hotel. A story of tragedy, horror, and the enduring power of evil. As you turn off the lights tonight, remember, every hotel room has a history, but some histories are darker than others. Sleep tight and don't let the spirits of Room 237 haunt your dreams.